Welcome back to Law Made Simple. I'm your host, Bempo, as usual, and today we're talking about sexual offenses, and particularly we are focusing on the case of Republic versus Nkhunda. So in this case, the boy was charged with raping his grandmother, and I want to mention that this case is not yet over, or rather I haven't seen the judgment yet, because it initially started in the magistrate court, and then it was sent to the high court, and then the high court sent it back for a retrial, because initially the boy was charged with rape, but the high court said because there is this family relationship between the two, it cannot be rape. So the charge was changed with incest, but then it was sent back to the magistrate court. So it's the magistrate court's judgment that I do not have. But I wanted us to focus on what the High Court said and how our penal code has provisions that sometimes tend to clash, or how confusing it can get when you have all these different provisions that are pretty much similar but different as well. So that's what we're focusing on today. Okay, now that we have that out there, as I mentioned, this boy was charged with rape initially with the magistrate court, and when it was sent to the high court was just there to pretty much interpret the law. That's when the high court was like, okay, but then these two are related, so it cannot be rape, it has to be incest. So why did this case end up in the high court? This is where the legal system's checks and balances come into play. In Malawi, the High Court have something called supervisory and revisionary jurisdiction over lower courts. In simple terms, that means they can step in to correct some mistakes and make sure that the lower courts abide by the law. So when they reviewed this case, they found that charging this boy with rape was an error because of the close family connection that existed. So incest was the proper charge, and it also found that the trial of incest needed consent from the DPP, of which it did not have. So with that in mind, the High Court decided to quash the conviction, and they ordered for a new trial, but this time under a correct charge, which was incest, and with the requirement to get the DPP's consent. But then the thing is, rape carries a heavier punishment. It basically carries a heavier punishment, whilst incest is just like 5 years. So that's why I wanted us to talk about this case, because I found it interesting, because even when you look at this case, he raped his grandmother. So just because it was his grandmother, the High Court said rape could not fit into this. It had to be incest. So you see how interesting this case is, yeah? So in conclusion here, we see that procedure is very important to follow it down to the bone, because it might cause some confusion, and it might just end up prolonging the case when it's not supposed to be that long. So the High Court made sure that the proper procedure was followed, and that when interpreting the law, our magistrates and all the other judges must make sure to consider every situation and every circumstances that are surrounding that case before they make their final decision, so that everybody is charged under the right offense and the right punishment is given. What do you think about this? I believe it's something worth discussing about. You can leave in your comments on what you think about this case. So anyway, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being with me as usual, and see you next time.